Good evening, everybody. This is Bob Van Buren once again for the Van Buren Variety Show. Certainly glad to have you all here again. If you weren't here for the last week's show, let me just kind of reiterate one point that I made last week. This has been my 1 year anniversary. Yep, I've had 1 year of the Van Buren Variety Show, and it has certainly been a great ride. Couldn't do it with all you, my subscribers, the audience, those of you that have watched this for the past year, and most importantly, the guests, people that have been on my show for different episodes. I couldn't do it without you as well. We've had some very interesting topics here, and tonight will be no different, I promise. So I told you it's been a year, but actually tonight is episode 54. So what will episode 54 bring? Well, you're going to have to find out. Well, I never thought a year ago that, I'm making it to 54, and hopefully we'll have 54 more. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Audience members, guests, everybody that's made this show possible. So hope you've had a great week so far. I've had maybe a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, depending on your perception. Someone rear-ended me a while back going to work. I was at a stoplight, and they didn't hit me that hard, but it was enough to damage the bumper of my car. He admitted it. It was his fault. So right now, as we speak, my vehicle is in the car repair shop, and in the meantime, they gave me a rental I don't have to pay for. It's just, I get to drive it while they're fixing it. They were supposed to have fixed it today and have it back to me today. But before I tell you that story, let me show you the vehicle they gave me to lease while my car is being repaired. Ford F-150. And man, I do not want to give that vehicle back. Man, it was supposed to happen today. The car was supposed to go in and be repaired. The car repair shop called me just a few hours before this show and said, "Oh, Mr. Van Buren, we are so sorry. Your car will not be ready today. It may not be ready till tomorrow or Thursday." And I was just like, oh, darn. Wow, so disappointed. Yeah, I get to keep this truck for a little bit longer now. So, yeah, I got to give it back, though. So, but, yeah, I mean, you want to give me a vehicle to lease that looks like that? You will hear no argument from me. So bad that I don't have my car, but good that I got a good lease vehicle in the meantime that I don't have to pay for. The other guy's insurance has to pay for that. So that's even better. So anyway, let's get back to our topic now. And this topic tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is one that I have to confess that I am guilty of. So I'll point the question to you, and I'll say that I am guilty. Would you consider yourself a procrastinator? What I mean by that is you've got a project that needs to be done either in your personal life or your work life, and you dread it, and you get depressed about it, and you talk about it, and you just keep pushing it back, hoping you ignore it long enough it goes away. But guess what? It never goes away, does it? And believe me, I know that too. So you can get depressed about it, but we're going to talk about how you can get peace of mind. Don't let depression get you down. Don't let, burnout, especially, we've all been burned out. Believe me, I had a former job more than 10 years ago that, I was really burned out for a number of reasons. And it was just one of those I just disliked going to work. It don't have to be about work related. It could be anything that we're just burned out, we're depressed, or we procrastinate about it. So how do we avoid that? And most importantly, how do we turn it into something positive? Well, my guest tonight is going to be telling us all about that. She's going to be talking about soul power. Now, what is soul power? Well, we're going to find out. So let me bring my guest on tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Tess Vergara. She's going to tell us all about soul power and how to avoid all those pitfalls that I just mentioned. So, Tess, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Bob, thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Right. So let's just jump into it. So how would you define soul power? What is that?
Well, we all know about willpower, right? Willpower where I got to a point of mental exhaustion, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was the end of me. I can't willpower, procrastination. I can't willpower my way out of procrastination, out of depression. I
Mm-hmm.
tried so many things. Then there's that moment in our life where we just have to kneel down and surrender to our
Mm-hmm.
higher
Absolutely.
power. And I call that soul power because it's beyond our physical. It's beyond our physical power. It's beyond our mental power. It's beyond our emotional power. And so all of our beingness, I believe, is our soul power. We can call it God power, that is in us. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people kind of shy away from the word God, from anything. There's a lot of dogma. People have been hurt by religion and that, but you and anyone can identify with their soul, that there's something more beyond our physical existence. And for me, that
Mm-hmm.
is soul power. It's not about powering over. It's not about um, forcing ourselves to get something done, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a very soft and very, it's a feeling of being at home with oneself, being comfortable in your own skin. And that to me is soul power, where the external becomes a manifestation of the integration, of the harmony inside, of the peace of mind, all that. So soul power really is you with all of who you are, with all of what you are meant to be, with all of the potentialities
Uh-huh.
and
Sure.
possibilities. It's all of that. And I go with the policy of no parts left behind, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, that's really positive. So yeah, that's sounds like we all need soul power a little bit, you know.
Yes, yes. The recognition that we are beyond physical power, we are beyond mental power, like we are
Uh-huh.
soul power, can really take your life into a whole new trajectory where you feel, oh my God, my life has not been wasted all this time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
busy. I've been pushing, 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 pushing,
Sure.
because there was something not right. It's not aligned with my soul. Such a thing called soul destiny also.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Yes.
Let me talk about one of the problems that I mentioned in my monologue. And again,
Mm-hmm.
I confess I'm as guilty, but I bet you there's someone watching this that's just as guilty. It's that terrible word called procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And any kind of procrastination, the way I define it is there's something there that has to be done, but I put it off and I talk about it. Yeah, I need to get to that. Someday I will get to that. And then the more it doesn't get done, the more upset I get, the more angry I get, the more stressed I get. So that's a kind of a two-part question, Tess. Um, First of all, is that a good definition of procrastination? And second of all, is there a way to turn procrastination into something positive, or is that something we need to kind of eliminate from our lives somehow?
Yes, yes, great questions. Yes, I really identify with your definition of procrastination, pushing something, you know, later and later, later, I'll do
Yeah,
that
right.
later.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's me.
And
Oh,
that's exactly what happened to me. I was an accountant before I was a coach. I was an accountant for almost 30 years. And
wow.
something that I can do in my sleep, I kept procrastinating, I kept procrastinating, I kept procrastinating. And then, the quarterly reports are due, or the year-end
Mm-hmm.
reports are due, and I'm constantly catching up, constantly catching up. And I got curious. Why is it that, how can I master my own mind? How can I get more productive and not keep pushing off the things that I know
Mm-hmm.
I can do in 5 minutes? But why
Sure.
is it that I'd rather do this? Something that will allow me to escape into another world
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where here I am getting paid for something that I'm supposed to do. and I can't. And I was so, there was so self-loathing there, and
Oh yeah,
lack
there is.
of respect for myself, because what is wrong with me, and should I check myself into a have I
Yeah.
lost my mind? But so I really researched into what was affecting my behavior, what was affecting my motivation, and all that, until I had to leave uh accounting world completely and get into
Hmm.
coaching, because there is so much more that we don't know contributes to procrastination. And I would invite you to check my blog post on procrastination. I think the title of that, I wrote it a long time ago, is Confessions of a Procrastinator.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
I wrote that because I was really, oh my God, it really created a lot of internal conflict. I was in hell pretty much,
Hmm.
because here's something that I'm paid to do, but I'm not doing my job, and I'm out of integrity. I'm in shame. I feel irresponsible.
Like a
I feel
failure
like
almost. Yeah.
a failure,
Hmm.
definitely. And why is it that I don't have control over my own mind? That was very shaming for myself. It was a source
Right.
of self shame for me. So now, fast forward, the reason that I was procrastinating, I didn't know at that time, was because it was out of alignment. I was meant, so it was for me. This is now looking back to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was no longer supposed to be in that job. So the reason I
That's
was
true.
procrastinating was
Hmm.
because there was something more opening up for me, which I didn't know back then.
A sign.
I
Yeah.
was using procrastinating to to self-flagellate, to punish myself, that you're not good enough, that you're, like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
So many things that I was judging myself for. But now looking back, procrastination was a way to a symptom, a sign that's telling me, hey, you're really not meant to be an accountant. And I used to say, I will die an accountant, because that
Hmm.
was all I knew.
Yeah.
That was
Nothing
all
else.
I knew. And
Yeah.
I was a single mom, and that was all I knew. But the thing
Hmm.
is, you are way more than who you think you are. You are way more than the labels you put on yourself. So that is soul power. You are like a flower blossoming. And being an accountant and being a mother was just one petal, of several expressions of the flower that I was blossoming into.
I like what you just said, and I think that bears repeating, and for me too, from the audience as well. You just said that we, talking about me and the people watching this, we are way more than the labels that we put on ourselves. I think that is so powerful. I think we need to hear that a lot more. I think we
Yeah.
do put labels on ourselves, and I think we limit ourselves, and we hit this brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to somehow mentally, tear those labels off.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. And the thing now, right? So for a lot of people, well, this is all I know, or well, then I went through that phase where, well, if I am not that, then who am I? So was
Hmm.
I just pretending this whole time? You know, so don't use the awareness that the being an accountant, because I was the reason I became an accountant was because I won a scholarship,
Hmm.
and I had to take accounting to get that scholarship.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
you know, but then when I took some assessments, I was not fitted for accounting. But I contorted. I made myself into a pretzel to fit into accounting.
You compromise.
I compromised, but I didn't
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
thought
You
I was
didn't.
being
Hmm.
smart and saving a lot of money by allowing the institution to pay for my school. But I molded myself to fit accounting rather than allowing myself to get to know
Grow.
what are all my skills, what are all my weaknesses, where else can I grow, what are all the potentialities that I have. But instead, I contracted, made myself small to fit into accounting
In this little box that you
in
put
this
yourself.
little box, in this little
Mm-hmm.
label. And there was nothing wrong with being an accountant. And it didn't mean, and I'm telling myself because this was the judgment that I was telling myself back then, that all those years of accounting, I was really not meant to be an accountant. No, don't think that way. None of those things are wasted. None of those years are wasted. None of those effort are wasted, because that is still a part of you, and yet there's so much more you can
Sure.
step into.
Well, it kind of brings me to my question, Tess. Here it is. What are the telling signs of burnout, and why do leaders and executives succumb to it, and what should they do instead?
Mm. There's so many signs of burnout. And when I was going through burnout, I was always justifying it. I'm just putting food on the table.
Okay.
I just want my kids to have a good
Mm-hmm.
education,
To get by. Yeah.
to get by
Mm-hmm.
education. So there's always rationalization. And people will say, well, you're going to get yourself sick. No. So the telling signs are, one of the biggest one. I'll give you one, is the what's the term? You become uh
Complacent?
no, not complacent, but cynical. You become
Oh, cynical.
cynical.
Okay.
It and it's not a funny cynical. You're really like, you get triggered, you get cynical, you get angry, you get irritated, and you're exhausted.
You're your own worst enemy, basically.
Exactly,
Oh,
because
okay.
at first, it's like I said, it's willpowering yourself to do something, and then you get frustrated, you get emotionally drained, that you get mentally drained, then you get physically drained, and
Mm-hmm.
yet then you get spiritually drained, and then you just go, I've got nothing left to give,
Yeah,
or
I'm
yeah,
out. I'm done.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done. And then, why don't you do this? Well, you get cynical, you get angry, you get annoyed, you get
Mm-hmm.
irritated. I i went to a phase where I lashed out. So that's really burnt out, where you're running on fumes. It's beyond empty.
Yeah.
It's beyond empty. And this is such a place where self-loathing, self-doubt, lack of self-confidence, you feel like you're the ugliest person on earth, you're the most unlovable person on earth, you're
Yeah.
the most undeserving and unworthy
It's that
person on
little
earth.
voice in your head that keeps
Oh my
whispering
God.
to you.
Yeah, because
Yep,
you're
I
so
have it.
drained. You're so drained. Exhausted on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
So you get really cynical. And when you get to that point of cynical, um, I would really do self inquiry,
Okay.
and get back into alignment.
Okay.
Your soul power. Yeah.
So we talked about kind of how to turn things into something positive. So
Mm-hmm.
my next question is just that. Is fear, self-doubt, and procrastination a good thing? And if it is, can be a good thing, how can you turn it into something positive or an ally?
Well, let's take fear. Okay. A lot of people run away from fear.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So when you run away, this is me, and fear is following you. It's like it feels so big, but when you look at fear and you
Mm-hmm.
confront it, you actually look at it and make friends with it, dance with the fear. Then it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller.
In other words, confront it, don't run away, right?
Don't run away,
Oh,
because
okay.
there's a messaging from fear, and fear is natural. But a lot of fear is also irrational, because we allow it to control our lives rather than make it, be a friend.
We think of worst case scenario. I
All the
think we do.
time, as an
Yeah. Mm.
accountant, that was my training too. What's the worst case scenario? How can
Mm-hmm.
I plan for a future, for 6 months, for the next year? I was ingrained in worst case scenario, but
Mm-hmm.
there's also best case scenario. And the best case
Yeah.
scenario really is, how can you turn self-doubt, fear, procrastination, all that, as a message, as something with
Mm-hmm.
that has a message for us? Because self-doubt, you know when self-doubt for me, when self-doubt uh infiltrated or hijacked my mind, I was gone. I was gone.
Mm-hmm.
But when I realized that self-doubt was just protecting me, I felt like, there's a reason self-doubt is there.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just listen, really listen, without, see, when we listen to internal voices, what when we are not aligned with our soul power, let's start with that. When
Okay.
we are not aligned with soul power, we believe that we are powerless, that we are helpless, that
We're nothing. Yeah. Huh.
yeah, undeserving, impotent, not enough, all that. But when we first, raise our vibration,
Mm-hmm.
raise our consciousness to thinking, everything is happening for me, everything is happening because of me, I am not powerless, I'm not worthless, that I have power beyond what I can see and what I can feel, and tune
Absolutely.
into that. And at first it feels weak, because we were never trained to function from wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
And that is soul power, is the wholeness of all of our parts together, all the dark, all the light, all the good, all the bad, everything. And it's only negative, it's only bad because we haven't utilized it.
Mm-hmm. We turned it around. Yeah,
we
for sure.
haven't we haven't acknowledged it. We've been running away from pain. We've been running away from, oh, they're gonna think I'm stupid. We've been running away. But if we just stop and say, okay, I'm confronting this, I'm confronting my demons.
Right. Stare it head on,
Yeah, stare at fear head on, stare at self-doubt head on. And what are you trying to tell me? you know and if you come from that place of wholeness, that there is nothing going on that is against you, that the universe is actually conspiring for your benefit, to
Sure.
serve you, to serve your highest, you can see that everything is happening for a reason.
Absolutely.
You will be able to see, oh, that's why that's happening. Oh, that's why
Yeah.
that's
Just
why I lost my
focus.
job.
Yeah.
That's why I lost my job. That's why blah blah blah. There's so many learning things that we can pick up. But if
Sure.
we're at the bottom thinking, I'm nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing, I'm nothing.
Yeah. I'm down. I'm down. I'm down. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't solve a problem from that level of consciousness. You got to rise up to say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm powered by my soul.
I'm important. Yeah.
I'm important. I'm powered by my soul. I'm powered by God. I'm powered by the universe.
Absolutely.
But if you're powered by fear, where fear is actually the one controlling you, then that's it.
That's it.
Everything that you're creating is based off fear, and it's creating lack, it's creating survival, it's creating victim
Absolutely.
mechanisms. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I want to point out to my audience, Tess, we got a lot more questions, but I do want to let the audience know that you've written a book, right? You have a book out.
Yes, I do.
I want to display that for my audience because, ladies and gentlemen, if you want really some positive words that we all need, let me display that, Tess, and then you can kind of tell us a little bit about it. It's called Soul Power, which is what we're talking about here.
Exactly. And what is soul power? Why is it important? Why do we need to go beyond mental, emotional, physical power, even spiritual power? So, soul power really comes from the integration of the four pillars, which is your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical.
Mm-hmm.
We focus on the physical sometimes most of us, or we were trained from birth to look for our physical safety, physical strength, physical appearance,
Sure.
everything physical, and then come to a point where the emotional clearing, emotional healing needs, because now why all of a sudden you're looking back and there's division in the family, and that, and how do you
Mm-hmm.
reconcile? Your mother raised you this way, or your father called you stupid all your life, and that created some emotional wounding. At some point we need
Some
to look at
scars,
that
yeah.
too. Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
emotional scars, not just the physical but also the emotional. And then the mental, mental exhaustion, mental disorder, there's so many of that now, anxiety, depression. We have to go face to face with all those things too. Why are so many people in anti using antidepressants now? Can we live without antidepressant? Can we live without drugs and alcohol?
That would be nice.
That
Yeah.
would be nice, right? And so those are the things. Why am I dependent on external things, to coffee? Why do I need coffee? You're right, to wake me up to become
Yeah.
productive. And so these are all crutches, mental crutches, and then spiritual, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, we can't just focus on one of the four pillars. We need to reconcile each of the pillars on its own, and then reconcile them integrated as one, as a whole.
I see.
And with all those four pillars integrated and reconciled within our being, there comes our soul power. It becomes the norm rather than something we strive for.
Can you give us those four pillars again? What are the four pillars?
Physical,
Physical, okay.
emotional,
Emotional,
mental,
mental,
and spiritual.
spiritual.
Yeah.
Okay, remember that. They're all equally important.
All equally important. Yeah.
Wow. Something we all need to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, I will put Tessa's website up here shortly for you. But I do want to show you something that was on her website that really spoke to me. And it's really powerful, Tess. I'll let you read it. But I want to show it to my audience. Here we go.
Yes, we can no longer be spectators of our own destruction.
Okay, describe what that means. That we can no longer be spectators of our own destruction. What does that mean?
That quote came to me after having Christmas dinner with my daughter
Okay.
back in 2019, Christmas of 2019. And she said, "Mom, I'm not going to give you a granddaughter." And I'm like, "Why not?" And, I felt being punished. What did
Oh
I
no.
do?
Oh.
Because, Mom, humans are facing extinction. And it was
Okay.
like a cold, iced water splashed on me. And I woke up. Like, here I am talking about, creating heaven on earth,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
talking about the divine and all that. But then here's my own daughter telling me that we're up for extinction. And
Oh
I've been
wow.
looking at that topic. And the thing is, we do not know. We do not know that we are buying into beliefs and messages of lack, that you're not good enough. And it is actually creating our own destruction. Without self love, without that integration that I've been talking about, without soul
Mm-hmm.
power, we are really giving our power away. And when we give our power away, we allow abuse, we allow tyranny, we allow control over our own way of being, our own speech, our own freedom, how we want to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, you and I have different ways of communicating, of expressing ourselves, of expressing happiness, joy, and all that. Because you're unique, I'm unique.
We're all our own person. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but what's happening right now is we are being boxed into and labeled into, and asked, and sometimes coerced into conformity and compliance.
We are. Mm-hmm. Sometimes bullied, you know.
bullied.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really a domestic terrorism that we are allowing to be done
Mm-hmm.
in our person. And this is each
Absolutely.
and one of us, that where are we allowing such things to happen that is creating our own destruction? Where are we giving up our power?
Sure. Hey, I wanted to display. We're going to get some more questions, I know, probably from the audience as well. But I do want to display your website.
Mhm.
Uh, I believe this is it. Let me display this. Is this the correct website?
Correct. Yes, that is my
Okay.
website.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to hear more about Tess, we have more of an interview, so don't hang up yet. But if Tess, if people went to this website right here, what would they see? I mean, what kind of information is there at this website or your website?
Yeah, soulpoweredleaders.com. We need leaders coming, functioning, leading from the level of soul, not
Mm-hmm.
from the level of fear. Like, okay, what if we run out of food? Or what if, it's all fear based thinking. And
We
what
all think it.
happens,
Yeah.
yeah, when we succumb to fear-based thinking, it leads scarcity, it leads separation to our own power. It it leads to victimization. It leads to
Mm-hmm.
believe that there's something out there that controls our life. So soul powered leaders is about you stepping up into your own self leadership. How can you align with your soul? And I really believe that anything that is no longer aligned with our soul, we are given immense opportunity right now to
Mm-hmm.
let go of all those things where we are out of alignment, where we are feeding into fear, where we are believing we are less than, where we
Listening to
are,
that little voice that keeps criticizing you.
yeah, the
Yeah.
critical
Yeah.
voice.
Huh.
And those are the wounded ego voices. Yes, we've been rejected before. Yes, we were unsafe before. Those mechanisms that we learned from our parents, from our caretakers, were to
Mm-hmm.
protect us because we were young. But in our adulthood, don't let those protection prevent us from reaching our highest potential, what our soul came here to do.
Sure. Well, Tess, we got a comment from the audience, not a question, but it's quite a compliment to you. Let me display that for you. Batmom says, "Tell Tess that her name is my favorite. All the Tesses in the world are awesome and good looking."
Thank you. I'll fully receive that. Thank you.
Yeah. You won't argue with that, will you?
No, no, no. And talking about, when we are out of alignment, sometimes we don't receive or we don't see just how amazing and beautiful we are.
Mm-hmm.
If for I'm gonna ask your audience, if you grew up in an environment where you were not appreciated, where nothing you ever do is never good enough,
Push down. Yeah,
pushed
yeah.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we internalize that and think, no one appreciates me, therefore I must not be.
I'm not good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So my internal voice before was, my sister's prettier than me. My other sister has a better voice than me, and
Mm-hmm.
someone else is better than me. So we gotta really own up to
We
our,
do.
yeah, our everything that we are, everything, including the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this. How do we, and this is a question for myself, probably as well as my audience, how do we turn off this voice? How do we shut this little voice that says, you're not good enough, you were insulted many, many years ago, so that must be true. You'll never amount to anything. You're not good enough. You're never going to be promoted. It's never going to happen. You'll never be successful. How do we finally shut that voice off, or what would you suggest to get rid of the negativity is, well, I guess what I'm asking.
Yes. Well, if you try to shut it down, it will come back like that, like a balloon that you push down in water. If you try to
Ah,
push it down, push it down, push it down,
yeah.
it will kick you in the butt.
You got to learn to control it, I guess.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna say is listen to it without believing it. And I said that earlier,
I like
right?
that. Listen to it without
Come,
believing it.
yeah,
Okay.
come from the knowing, come from curiosity. Okay, well, maybe that Tess girl, maybe she knows what she's talking about. What if I'm really so powered? What if there is a power beyond me? What if?
Mm-hmm.
And go from there and then get curious. You can't shut off those voices.
Mm-hmm.
They need, where I said, um, we need appreciation, we need acknowledgement, we need all that.
Yeah.
Those voices need acknowledgement too. They're like babies crying for attention.
Mm-hmm. Look
So
at me. Listen to me.
yeah, yeah, I'm never good enough. Okay, so breathe in, like, yes, I'm good enough. Yes, I'm soul powered. Yes, I'm the unique spark of divine. And then, okay, honey, what is your problem?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to parent that voice. Where's that coming from? And sometimes that not good enough voice is really maybe an observation. You observed your mom beating up your dad, or the other way around. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Either way.
but
Uh-huh.
either way, yeah. Or your brothers and sisters, or were beat up, because for me, nothing happened to me traumatically
Mm-hmm.
on a physical level, but I was absorbing it all as the youngest, fifth of the six siblings. I've seen a lot of things, and all those observations I used as a way to protect myself. And at some
Absolutely.
point, I had to let them go. So even though they were not said to me, I picked up those things,
Pieces. Uh-huh. Yeah.
pieces of those things. So one thing to ask yourself is this voice even mine? Whose voice is this? Where did I
Where's it
hear
coming
this
from?
from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you borrowed it, if you inherited it, well, is it true? And of course, the answer is no, it's not true, because you are soul powered.
Yeah, right.
You are powered by soul, by the soul.
Absolutely. I have another question for you. It says, as a previous finance director, what do you say is the importance of balancing and reconciliation in one's life?
Yes, very, very important. Um, I burnt out. I had a meltdown. I told my boss,
I've been
actually,
there too.
yeah, get the F out of my office.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, yeah. I told the director. Um, yeah, and so it's really important to balance and reconcile your life. All those four pillars that I talked about:
Yes.
the
Hmm.
physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. Not one is more important than the other. Some people will say, oh, you gotta step into spirituality, but spirituality not physicalized is also not gonna do you any good, right? So it's really important to balance all those four,
Sure.
because you get exhausted. You're gonna get exhausted emotionally, physically, spiritually, if they are not lined up.
Hmm. For
if
sure.
if they are not, if one pillar is working, and is feels isolated from the other three, there's no balance. It feels like a flat tire.
Tell us about this class on your website. It's called A 7 Week Journey Back to Wholeness. It's a 7 week class. Kind of tell us about the class. Not only what is it about, but how can people sign up for it?
Yes, if they click on that website, well, I would start with the chakra, uh, the booster chakra. It's an introduction free webinar, and it's
Okay.
going to be there tomorrow. I had to put it, it's off right now because I'm doing some tricks on it.
Mm-hmm.
When I say reconcile the four pillars, I'm so glad you brought up the chakras because it's our energy system.
Okay.
It starts with there's seven energy centers in the body, and it's all explained in the booster chakra power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also then if you want to work deeper into that, it comes in a 7-week course. So that is a great way to harmonize where we are conflicted emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. So sometimes we know that we are gifted,
Mm-hmm.
but our third eye is blocked. It's blocked by I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. I can't
Mm.
see how that's going to work out. I don't think it's going to work out.
Hmm.
So that a lot of self-doubt is here when it's blocked.
I see. Oh, okay.
The throat chakra, the throat gets blocked when we undermine ourselves.
And we all do that.
And we
Unfortunately.
all do that.
Mm-hmm.
When we do not speak our truth, when we do not say anything, even when the abuse is already happening, that
Yeah.
gets blocked down. And sometimes there's a physical manifestation, it turns into a disease.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time I needed a thyroid medication because it was so imbalanced.
Oh,
And
wow. Hmm.
when someone would say something to me, I would either cry or be angry and never communicate in a nice way. It always goes sideways if I try to communicate it because there's a lot of hurt here,
Yeah.
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
blockages, and so it goes sideways. And I would cry and never get, and I'm perceived as a crazy person
Right.
because I can never get
Like, what's
it.
wrong with me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and either I'm so mad or crying. Never. This was before a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
The heart sometimes it's blocked by grief, by losing a loved one, losing a job, losing, this holds a lot of grief.
But all
And
hope is lost, really. You
yeah,
know.
and sometimes heartbreak, can feel like a heart attack because it gets
It
physicalized, the
can.
block.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So all of this, our solar plexus is in the stomach area. I'm pointing to my stomach right now. And sometimes if that is not activated, we feel powerless. We feel like we're just taking up space in the world. We
Yeah.
feel like we're a bother to people because
Why
we
are we
have,
here? Yeah.
why
Mm-hmm.
are we here? And then the sacral chakra, which is our inspiration, uh, it's our reproductive system. It's our seat of creation. And then down at the seat of the spine here is our root chakra where fear resides. So
Oh,
people who
really?
are afraid of their safety, that's the first thing that needs to be healed. And then the crown chakra, you know.
Sure.
Funny, yeah, the coronavirus means crown chakra, and it really allowed all of us to have that space to look inward and open up this crown chakra and allow, heaven and earth um, to converge right here in our heart. I feel that we are the bridge, as soul powered leaders.
Uh huh.
If we have the awareness of it, we are constantly bridging heaven and earth, and that's
That's awesome.
through our
Mm.
seven chakras.
And that's something to really think about, because it brings us close. It kind of it causes, peace, I guess you could say, inner peace.
Peace, yeah, and the belonging that we've always been looking for.
I'm going to bring that up too. Here's the, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wanting to know, we talked about it's a 7-week course, and this is where you can go on the website to sign up for that. Is there other ways? I mean, is there ways I can contact you, like if they want more information, or if they want you to coach them? I mean, is that service available?
Definitely, definitely. And for your viewers, Bob, just give me an email to tess@tessvergara.com. Mention that you have seen this interview with Bob, and I'll give you a whole hour of consultation to see where might you benefit with soul powering, activating your soul power, activating your chakras. Where might be a fear running you, fear of losing the love of your children, fear of losing your job, fear of not having enough confidence, fear of not being successful enough, any of these fears. And if you feel like really conflicted that I want to quit this job because I'm
Mm-hmm.
being called to do something else, but I can't give up a paycheck, these are the things I can help you with. Find clarity, find strength, find confidence already inside of you.
We
That
need
some,
that.
yeah, sometimes we just need someone who's been there, who's done all that work, as a guide to inspire in you something that you already know. Something, your soul is there. Your soul is always knocking. Hey, it's time. It's time.
Right. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you go to this email address, tess@tessvergara.com, and make sure you saw it on tell her you saw it on the Van Buren Variety Show. She
Yes.
can definitely. Now tell us, Tess, you're, so full of knowledge. I know you've had a lot of training. I read in a website that you're a certified master strategy coach.
Yes.
So let me ask you, kind of, how long have you done that, and what kind of training or education or certification did you have?
I did that back in 2013 because I
Oh,
was
wow.
my first client. I was my
Oh,
first
really?
client. I
Okay.
was coached, and my fear in going to the traditional therapy and counseling was to pop pills, and I saw my mom pop pills all through her life,
Mm. A lot of
and
people do that.
and no real change. So that
Mm-hmm.
was my fear, and I know of people who have taken antidepressants and they don't feel as alive. They don't feel like really participating in the world. They feel numb, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not what I wanted for myself. But I couldn't.
Sure. Oh, 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 oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we lost her. Let me see if I can bring her back. We are having some storms here, some windstorms, so I apologize for that. Tess, if you're
Yeah,
Tess, I'm
there.
sorry. Was that me? We're having some storms come through, so I don't know if that was me or just what. So I apologize for that.
No, I apologize if it's me too. I'm like, oh, but I'm
Like, oh
back.
no. So, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so I
What
was
were you
saying
saying?
that in 2013 I went gung ho to help me out because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't drink my sorrow away, and I could because it was so against me. My father was also an alcoholic. I didn't want to turn into my mother. I didn't want to turn into my dad. So I was like, okay,
Yeah, they
I
gave
gotta
you an example. Yeah.
I gotta face my demons. I gotta face my fears. So I took all these courses. I took the Tony Robbins strategic intervention first. Then
Oh,
I was
good.
able I was able to help myself. And after that, I took the certified strategic mastery course because then, okay, now I'm ready to coach people because I saw the transformation in myself. So that's an ongoing training. I already got certified, and back in 2013, I keep repeating and refreshing that course uh, to really become the best coach that I can be, because this is my soul calling.
And you know what? So many people need that. Let me ask you about your services. Do you do just stuff like, I'm just throwing this out, like through Zoom or on the web, or do you do also in-person consultation?
Yeah, I stopped doing in person during the 2 year restriction
Oh,
that
the
we've
virus.
had.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but now it's coming back, so hopefully I'll be doing more live events again in the future. But for right now, it's one-on-one private coaching with me because it's really important that you it's one-on-one, like in a group setting, and I'm speaking for myself.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I don't get the full benefit of it. It's very helpful, but it takes longer. But
And
when
other people are
you're,
listening too, you
yeah,
know.
other people are listening, you're not as vulnerable. But
Mm-hmm.
with a private session, I can really zoom in. They say I go straight to the jugular because I will really tell you, well, yes, 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 but let's go deeper. I will
Sure.
always go deeper and deeper and deeper, because it's real foundational work where you shift your consciousness from I am not good enough to I am soul powered.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But one of your qualifications, I noticed when I was reading your profile, it
Mm-hmm.
says you are an NLP practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
What is NLP for our audience?
Neuro linguistic programming, where
Oh, wow. Okay.
the NLP, how from 0 to 7 we observe things. We think
Mm-hmm.
our parents are God, so they say things and we speak the way they speak, we copy them, we
Mm-hmm.
don't question anything. And then at 7 years old, then we learn discernment of past 7. But whatever it is that we learn from 0 to 7 is there in the subconscious. And as
Oh,
we
okay.
grow older, it's harder and harder that, oh my God, so through NLP and through hypnosis, through a lot of things that I've learned in all my trainings, we can go to the subconscious level that you've learned from 0 to 7. What is it that you learned from 0 to 7 that made you think you're not good enough? That made you think that you're a loser? That made you think that there's nothing on this earth for you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what NLP is. It's changing neuro linguistic, our languaging, our neural pathways. It's if people are familiar with Joe Dispenza, breaking the habit of being yourself.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Oh,
is it
wait.
that we keep looping and looping and looping, doing the same thing over and over towards our self destruction, towards our own self abandonment? Why do we keep doing all of that? We know that it's not good for us, and yet we keep going, at midnight to the refrigerator, going for that piece of cake when we know it's going to create diabetes, it's going to, you know, uh,
More time on the treadmill. You got to burn
more
it
time.
off. Yeah.
More. Why do we keep doing the same patterns that lead us to self-sabotage? And that's the work of an NLP, of everything actually, of all the trainings that I've done, to go from that disempowered to soul power.
One of my biggest faults is not just procrastination, but I'll think of something maybe in the past I could have done better,
I could have
and it's
done
always
better.
that if I coulda, shoulda, woulda done this, or if this happened, and I have a hard time telling that little voice, if it didn't happen, I can't change it, but still it's like that what I coulda, shoulda, woulda, or done, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's already happened, it's done, but it's still playing over in my mind, so it's gotta like, okay, what did I learn from that? Don't repeat it
Right.
again. So that's really hard for me sometimes.
Right. And this is where you really step into non judgment, non blaming yourself. And that
Hmm.
part of to not beat yourself up, that is so hard, isn't it?
It's very difficult. It is. Hmm.
Because we were taught to, the carrot versus the stick. It's always the stick. We think that's the stick. By pushing ourselves, by punishing ourselves, we do better. But that only shrinks us and makes us believe the paradigm of not enough.
Right.
Whereas if you go the carrot way of appreciation, sometimes that voice of good enough turns into appreciation and celebration. So, my invitation to you, Bob, is celebrate yourself every single day.
Yep.
Yeah,
Give myself a pat on the back.
pat on the back and really, oh my God, I did this. It's and then the pattern of collecting failures uh, is softened by the pattern of collecting achievements, accomplishments, celebrations, appreciation, gratitude, and that voice dissipates. It becomes,
Sure.
because you can see the pattern that you're doing good thing every day, every moment. When
Sure.
you're wired, so you talked about NLP, you asked about NLP. Part of NLP is rewiring to look for the good rather than looking for the faults.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had a great comment just now. This person's already not with us, but they left with this parting words, and I agree with it. You probably will too. Patty says, "Be well, everyone. Visually wrap a positive blanket around yourself to keep out negative energy." That's really good.
Yes, very, very nice. Thank you so much, Patty.
Oh, well, let me display your website again. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to go there yourself. There's no way I could display all in this episode, all the good information that's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to display it again, not only in our chat, but I'm also going to display it here. So if you'd like more information, ladies and gentlemen, about Tess, her classes, oh, and most importantly, her book, let me put that out there again. Highly recommend to get this book, Soul Power, reconciling the four pillars to wholeness. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely check that out. And now, is this on a is it on like on a written book, or is it an audio book? Is it an ebook, or is it
It's an
all?
ebook.
It's
Yeah.
an ebook. Okay,
Yeah, you can download it for free.
for free. Okay,
It'll get you started with what soul power is all about, and activate. Sometimes we need that activation because we already know it. We already have a sense of something inside of us that is inevitable. It's just waiting for the right time to blossom, and it's inside of us. It's emerging. It's our soul power. And sometimes
absolutely.
reading a book like this or listening to a conversation like this will trigger you, will activate you to thinking, yeah, you're right. There's something more to me than meets the eye. There's something more to me that is emerging.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Tess, it's been a great episode. I've learned a lot from you just talking to you, and I actually can start. I kind of feel better about myself already. So
Oh,
you've
thank you
got a
so much,
very
Bob.
positive attitude. We need people like you to kind of get people on the right path. Let them know specifically that they are important. They
Hmm.
do have a purpose in life. So we all need that, not only in our professional lives but our personal lives.
Correct. Yes, yes. And if I may say, Bob, thank you so much for having me today and for
Absolutely.
recognizing the need to talk about soul power, because usually we're always talking about survival, survival, survival. It's time to really go beyond survival and really meet where your soul is calling you to be, because there is no peace of mind until, I believe, for me, until I really listen to what is my soul calling me and to work towards fulfilling that, because I believe the fulfillment of our soul is what we came here to be and do.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to kind of sign off, Tess, but we do have an important question. If I can sneak this one in here really
Sure.
quick. I think it's a question for you, Tess. Jean is asking, is part of your lessons to let you learn your triggers? I am guessing we have triggers that set us off. So I guess she's asking, how do you learn your triggers or maybe even get over the triggers?
Yes, definitely. I used to get triggered by abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And because I feared very much abandonment, I became a loner and self sufficient and self empowered and all that. And so when a relationship fails or when someone
Mm-hmm.
leaves, I used to be so triggered. And when I got triggered, I would be depressed. And then I
Yeah.
would be
Mm-hmm.
triggered into thinking, am I not good enough? Am I not lovable enough? So those are my triggers. So, yeah, that's part of my lessons. And how do you not go sideways? How do you not lash out? How do you not
Mm-hmm.
contract? How do you not play small in the face of triggers? So, kind of like fear, kind of like self doubt, kind of like procrastination, we got to
Yeah.
learn how to listen. Okay, I'm very triggered right now. And is it yours? Or as an empath, sometimes as an empath, we pick up and absorb other people's energy and act
Yep.
it out.
Absolutely.
So you gotta learn to distinguish. If it's your own, then work on your triggers. And usually the triggers are there as a sign to return back to alignment with your soul.
Sure. Great question, Jean. Thank you very much for that.
Thank
And
you.
Tess, again, I appreciate you being here. I've learned a lot talking to you, and hopefully we'd like to have you back on the show to kind of get an update and kind of tell us more about your book and any kind of other future projects you may have going.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate that.
Have a great night, Tess. Thank
You
you.
too. Thanks, everyone.
And ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, an hour goes by just way too fast, but don't worry. Next week, I'll have another episode of the Van Buren Variety Show, another guest, and always an interesting topic. A lot to learn, just as we learned a lot from tonight's episode. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button on this Van Buren Variety Show, you make sure you hit it, because that way you'll get updates and you'll get notifications when there's a future show coming up. And as always, Van Buren Variety is just that. We have guests to talk about their books or their profession. Could be some entertainment. Might be a how-to segment or craft, but you never know. So again, make sure you like and subscribe, and you'll get all the notifications that you'll need. So with that, I am Bob Van Buren for the Van Buren Variety Show. I'm very glad you came by tonight, and I hope you all have a pleasant week. Good night, everybody.